In this episode, you will learn how a third-time founder scaled a SaaS business in the fashion industry while also being a partner at an early-stage tech fund in New York. My name is Alexei, and I help SaaS founders scale. My guest today is Vadim Rogovskiy. Vadim has an exit under his belt, a partial exit under his belt, and he raised a Series A $10 million for a fashion enterprise SaaS business. Vadim went through an interesting journey and recently basically said that seed companies should really think of delaying their Series A. And we will really dive into the details of this thesis. So enough of me rambling. Let's dive into the episode. Hi, Vadim.
Hi, Alexei.
Excited to have you here.
Oh, likewise. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So, as an introduction, you are a 3 times founder. The latest venture you raised $16 million for. It's an AR, AI, SaaS enterprise business selling into the fashion industry. And then before that, you had an exit and a partial exit. And you basically moved from Ukraine to New York, and you're also a partner in a venture capital fund which supports immigrant founders.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. Yeah, exactly right. Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I guess let's start at the founding story behind 3D Look, the SaaS business you're running right now. Maybe tell us, how did you start it and where is it right now? And also, of course, what does the business actually do?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I start. Yeah. So before 3D Look, I had two companies in ad tech, so in advertising, in online advertising, and mobile advertising. Sold one of them, but at the same time, I mean, after 7 or 8 years in ad tech, I was pretty exhausted about that. I was just pretty tired of being on that market because of many reasons. I just wanted to build something very different from ad tech, but using my experience in enterprise, building enterprise software and selling it to businesses. And I was very fascinated about applications that can be built on top of smartphone camera and different like computer vision applications and I was definitely I was like looking at that area for some time, for a few years before I started 3D Look, and at first I started it as a research with my first co-founder. We just decided, hey, what if let's try to solve a problem of, we started from a problem, like let's try to solve the problem of measuring human body using a smartphone. Like many people tried to solve it in the last 25 years, but I think we started in the right time. We were lucky multiple times, and I think we were able to assemble a very strong team out of Ukraine, like best best R&D talent we could find, and it started from a technology problem. It started not according to the books that we need to start from a consumer problem. We started from a technology problem, but we were absolutely sure that we can apply this into many industries after we solve it. And and then we basically, long story short, I mean, we decided to concentrate on fashion industry for a while, and to solve the problem of returns, because 40% of apparel that the people buy online is returned mostly because of wrong fit, and we decided to solve it using our technology. And also recently we decided to get into health and fitness space, to show people how their body is going to change after they work out, and to allow them also to set up a fitness goal. So we're going to operate in this market as well. So yeah, that's it.
Can you screenshot the picture how their body will look like and put it into Tinder as an integration already?
Yeah, I heard many ideas related to other interesting use cases on top of that, because we have access to lots of body data, and you cannot imagine. I mean, we're not keeping any photos of consumers for a long time, but when we started, of course, we were looking at them in order to understand, like, what do we do right, what do we do wrong, how do we actually enhance our user experience, improve it. And some people, they thought that they need to be completely naked in their kitchen if they want to get the right size recommendation, like completely naked. And we were like, why? And so we've seen a lot of really weird stuff. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Awesome. Cool. So maybe then in terms of, right, you identified a tech problem, which of course became, let's say, a business problem, which you then tackled as well. How did you do the product validation? Because I imagine you need quite a bit of data, but it's also probably really hard to get the very first customer. How did you do that? And then also, how did you validate the product?
Well, I started to talk about my idea like since the first day. I started to tell everyone about it
Mhm.
and listening to feedback. And of course, hundreds of people were telling me that it's not possible. We proved them wrong, but definitely then I just started to. I didn't have any network in related to fashion retail, fashion e-commerce. So I had to started to just approach people via LinkedIn, emails, right? And I started to see very interesting conversion into responses. Like, I don't know, out of 20 emails, I was getting one meeting, and I was like, well, completely from, with this, without any mutual connections, etc., completely from the street. And I thought, well, it's also one of the indicators that we are probably we found something here. And yeah, I just
Mhm.
was completely fearless, just going and try to talk to VPs of e-commerce, of product, etc., just and do it in a repeatable way and do it sending many messages, having many demos. Then we also were lucky because we got a good coverage on VentureBeat, and we got several hundred leads just from that article before we even incorporated. It was super. So one of my
Wow.
advices to entrepreneurs is always like try to get above the water, try to be loud as early as you can. Don't wait until you have a
Mhm.
polished product or something. We were not even incorporated, but we got several hundred demos, including a lot of well-known brands, and I was taking the majority of the demos personally, so it helped a lot. So that's what we did in order to build initial, I would say, customer development, like customer development experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. In terms of the Venture Beat article, did it help that you were, let's say, quite well known already as a serial founder before?
I would say a bit, but still we had to hire a small agency, to get there because no one knew about 3D Book at the time at all, and we had some.
Mhm.
Yeah, we were obviously also there was some event some update. Like we launched our API, a first buggy version, and we closed like pre-seed round of $1 million. That's, but it was still not very big for a splash,
Mhm.
PR splash. So we had to hire a small agency to help us, but it helped a bit because they also were able to cover a bit of my personal story. And it's
Mhm.
yeah. So every founder needs to use all his unfair advantages that he has in order to succeed. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm. Makes sense. And then tell me more about the journey from, let's say, well, the first customer, I guess, to the customers you have right now. Did you manage to crack some sort of growth channel, or is it still a lot about reaching out personally, meeting people at events, and then a really long sales cycle to finally kind of landing on their website, I guess, to be used?
I was lucky to meet my co-founder Whitney. So she had a very long 25 years of career in fashion retail and manufacturing. She had a lot of credibility in this area. I was lucky to meet. Actually, she learned about us from that article. So again, our article
Wow,
proved to be very effective
amazing.
for us. She had her own consultancy at the time. She already quit her job in the corporate, and she had her own consultancy. And then she just wanted to find out, okay, what is this about? And then she reached out through the website, and then we met. I was at that time in San Francisco. We met, and then we bonded, and then actually she joined as an advisor. So yeah, and she runs the sales. No, I mean I was doing. I brought some big clients as well. I'm all big, and I mean I'm always spending. I mean, I always spend some portion of my time on big deals and partnership, but that was never my main role. After the first few years of the company, after Whitney joined, because definitely it's her. I mean, because she has credibility in this space, she understands fashion. It's very important if you want to sell to this industry because it's very outdated, it's very conservative. And for me, it would be
Okay.
much harder to sell into this industry. I had more uh, success in selling into more like tech-driven clients. But so yeah, so that's why I mean, and then yeah, we mostly succeeded with enterprises because that's how we are. That's how I mean, that's how we are just wired. Because I've been doing that in my previous companies, which is it's important to understand like what's your game plan and what do you enjoy doing. I mean, we try to be successful with SMBs, but it's just it works much better for us with enterprises.
Mm-hmm. And so, what's the sales cycle to an enterprise? And I guess, how do you get the first touch point? Is it I guess, are you still just trying to convert all the leads in your database because and in your pipeline because you've been reaching out to people for what, like 6+ years now, or do you still try to get new potential leads in which might convert quicker now than the old leads in your pipeline?
That's a good point. I mean, and now, and we are also we are like right now we are working on our OKRs for the quarter, and I mean the number of leads is not a challenge anymore because our organic traffic on the website is actually growing every month, but the conversion of these leads and nurturing, like lead nurturing and actually deal velocity in the pipeline, this is kind of the main objective for us because at some point of time, any well-known brand, I think, reached out to us at some point of time through different
Mm-hmm.
channels. But now it's more like provide basically crafting the right message at the right time to the right persona there, with the right proposal in order to convert them. This is what we are trying to work on. And I think like when we landed Bershka, like Bershka is one of the Inditex Group brands, and Inditex Group is one of the biggest fashion groups in the world with 100 plus billion market cap. They I mean, we tracked their let's say like conversion funnel. They at first it started when they read a white paper about virtual try-on our website. Then they saw some posts on social media. Then they went and had a demo. Then they got an email, etc., etc., etc. That's how they converted. So we now are trying to. What works well for us is content marketing for sure. It's thought leadership. I mean, I get a lot of requests just and connections from my LinkedIn from potential clients, conferences, right, and search engine optimization still. Although we didn't invest a lot at all, but we were able because we had a lot of press mentions and a lot of referrals. We just are able to maintain pretty high rankings in when people search for relevant keywords.
Yeah. I mean, the backlinks gave you a lot of domain authority,
Yeah.
basically, as well. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Cool. And then, what were, let's say, the challenges then? I read in your latest post, and we'll talk about that as well in terms of profit versus revenue, and VC versus, let's say slower growth potentially, but actually profitable. You raised the big round. You hired a lot of people. You were like 80 at some point, and then you realized, okay, you should go slower. You cut down to 30, and now you're pretty much in a solid spot again.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, I guess, like, could you walk us through the challenges you've encountered in the last few years for the business?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah. So in 2021, we did a common mistake, which is we basically um, so we raised the 10 million A round, and at that time, I thought, well, we just first of all we had to raise because this is at that time I thought, as many other founders, that's the only way to become a successful founder and to build a successful company. You just have to raise because if you don't raise, I mean, what's wrong? Something's wrong. So now I think totally in totally a different way. And at that time, and then we raised, and of course, we had so many ideas to how to accelerate our growth. We thought we found product market fit, but in fact, we were able to successfully convert innovators. If you look at demand curve, right? But we didn't get into early majority at all at that time, but there were not so many innovators in the market, and that's why we stumbled. And we grew just 50% in 2021, and also we got some bad revenue. I also recently wrote about bad revenues. Then we had to cancel some of the contracts because they were eating too much of our time and effort, etc., etc. So and we basically so we spent. I mean, so like the main mistake was that we would still be where we are now, having spent definitely less money for sure. I was just pushing a lot of things with my money, energy, resources, but we couldn't change it anyway. And the market was going to move with the same pace. Some enterprises, huge enterprises, are not going to accelerate their decision making because 3D Look is trying to have a booth on every trade show to meet them. No, they're still, well, their cycles, they live in their cycles, very long cycles. And I just think that I totally understand that we needed to have this more patience and not trying to burn the money in order to accelerate the life cycle of the company and the life cycle and decision making of the enterprises in the market, because it's not going to happen. And now we are still getting where we were going to get anywhere, but regardless of how much money we spend. No, of course we have to spend some, but not the money we spend, right?
Makes sense. And so you mentioned your thought process and your thinking changed in the last few years from if you don't raise a lot of money, you're not a successful entrepreneur to maybe let's be profitable, let's grow slower. You probably get there as well. It takes a bit longer, but you will be having probably more of the business and maybe at better terms. Yeah, maybe walk us through that whole change of your mind and what's your current thesis basically.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you go through several rounds of layoffs in order to become a leaner organization, then you realize that you actually are doing much better now, and no one left. I mean, we had zero voluntary attrition after we did it, because every founder is afraid to do layoffs, because the main reason why founders are afraid is because you have fear that some of your key people will also stand up and leave just because they don't feel certainty. But for us, it didn't happen. And I know for many founders, it's not happening because they managed to build a strong corporate culture, and actually people who stay, people who are already a part of leadership team in a startup, they are not because of money at all. Money is just a hygiene factor, right? But it's not like why they're in this company in the first place. So and then I realized why we should have done it a long time ago. We shouldn't even overhire. Like we shouldn't have trying to again to throw more people into this in order to move faster, because we couldn't move faster than the market. And and then I realized that I just for time being, until we understand that the market is ready to embrace what we do as a standard, and as a and definitely to treat it as a painkiller versus nice to have, so we can move from the innovators to early majority, etc. Then I don't want to raise more money. I'm not going to raise more money into the company. We're going to become profitable this year, and we're going to just I already informed my investors that we're going to grow. They should not expect us growing according to venture-backed company benchmarks. It's just not going to happen, and I'm okay with that. Even if we grow as a normal SaaS business, if we grow 30, 40, 50% a year, it's still good. And so I just don't want to rush, because VC capital urges you to rush, do stupid mistakes, and I just don't want to do this anymore. Yeah.
So let's maybe think about a founder, right? And who currently thinks raise or not raise, right? And obviously, in your case, it's a high R&D type of business model.
Yeah.
So you would need, in any case, initial capital to build the product, right?
Of course, yeah.
So let's say you would raise, but then your argument is basically, instead of trying to rush for a Series A, try to become profitable maybe as a seed, or have at least the option to be profitable if you want to, and only then raise at the terms, and basically telling investors that even if you raise a Series A, you will not try to grow as a Series A to get to the Series B. Or how would you communicate that argument?
Yeah, that's a good point. So actually, like my point is that we even uh, even if we didn't raise Series A, we were already at the point where we could become a profitable company. However, yeah, we had to still cut some people, do some, but I was not ready. I was not in a kind of mentality to do that, not kind of a mindset. I was like, go, 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 go. But even at that time, we could have become profitable. So I started to see the opinions. It's becoming a more popular opinion now that the vast majority of startups should just raise of venture-backed startups. And venture-backable startups is still like a teeny tiny fraction of all the startups, right? But if you're a venture-backable startup, still the majority of such startups should raise seed, and then should not. If they understand that that basically their exit potential is not like hundreds and hundreds of like a billion or like hundreds of millions, you just raise your seed. So from angels and small VCs, that's still going to be happy with the outcome and then become profitable. And then if you feel the pull from the industry, if you feel this real product market fit, yeah, when you don't have just when you have much more demand than you can digest at all, then you're just gonna run for it. Then you can at any point of time you can jump back into the VC game. But when you are profitable, of course, you have much more options, much more negotiation power. So I don't. So now I strongly recommend founders just to stop having this window that, oh, I raised seed, now I need to go for A in next year, like because what? I mean, there are different options, and it's sometimes it's better just to. I mean, yeah, of course, there are some markets when there is a very clear opportunity window, but again, sometimes it's better just to wait what the future will unfold instead of just doing some irreversible decisions. Because if you raise A, you cannot reverse it. You cannot basically fire this investor from a cap table anymore. This is irreversible already. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. So, if you would to share a critical lesson with SaaS founders, be it founding story, growth story, funding story, right? Like, what would be a valuable lesson you would share?
The lesson is, I think the lesson is definitely yeah, I like what Bezos says that he says that there are two types of decisions: reversible decision and irreversible decisions. And if you are about to make reversible decisions, you should make it fast because come on, no, perfectionism is an enemy of the startup. You just make decision fast, and if it doesn't work, okay, you already know that it doesn't work. But if it's irreversible decision like raising Series A, you should think a lot about it. You should not rush. But I did mistakes, and I see a lot of founders, just a lot of people do these mistakes. They sometimes think too much about such teeny tiny mundane decisions that are easily reversible, and they get a Series A sheet, a term sheet, and sign it without thinking for extra 5 minutes, and it's not right.
Yeah, yeah. It's very interesting. I know we have limited time, but I ask you one question because it might be really interesting for some people who have funds. And I mentioned you also have your fund called Geek Ventures,
Mm-hmm.
which is more than 20 million in AUM. And what's interesting is that the VCs are pushing companies to raise the Series A because the VCs want the markup in the book value in the fund.
Exactly, exactly,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's much easier for the fund to raise the second fund. Now you own your first fund and you mostly back seed and pre-seed companies. Are you actually telling them, guys, don't worry, like I don't actually care about whether on paper you're better or not, I just want you to have the long-term view? Or how do you tackle that problem, because you're obviously also interested to have them raise quickly to get a high valuation so you can show to LPs potentially that your fund is quite successful?
Yeah, I exactly. I mean, but I'm trying. I mean, we're trying to build the most founder-friendly VC. For me, it means a lot because I've seen a lot of VC jerks, and maybe 10 years ago, I would love to have a VC like Geek Ventures to be supporting my companies. So yeah, and then yeah, we try to just be very frank about. We try to put entrepreneur first and not our paper returns first. And we see that, for example, some of our companies, they can, for them, it makes more sense to stop raising all the time and just cut some costs and become profitable. And yes, maybe we'll see liquidity in 5 years, maybe in 10. Okay, maybe we'll see just 2-3x liquidity instead of 10, 20. It's fine. But if we see that if they continue raising small bits of capital and continuously live in this horrible movie when you're constantly fundraising, there are very high chances that you're just gonna hit the wall. And we just, but many VCs just telling them, yeah, because for them it's easier. You either go big or they write you off. But it's very cynical. It's not right, because if you're a VC, it's not about money. It's about impact first of all. If you're gonna make money, if you want to make money, probably you don't do a VC, right? So and then so that's why, yeah, we definitely, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's hard to be frank when you have several conflicting priorities, but we still would try to put entrepreneurs first.
Awesome, that's cool. All right, let's move on to the quick fire question round. What's your best book to recommend for founders?
Well, I'm a B2B founder, so I will be recommending B2B books. Definitely, Crossing the Chasm is like, yeah, of course, many B2B founders already read it, but who didn't read it, go to Amazon immediately. I'm telling you, because this book will change your mind, how you treat sales and growth of your startup. Yeah, Crossing the Chasm.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Name of an entrepreneur or business leader who you admire.
Well, I quoted Jeff Bezos, so probably it's evident that I admire him, because it's pretty obvious answer, but I love the story of Amazon, that reinvented so many industries without having any prior experience before going there, and they continue to do so, and they started from just a boring bookstore. So that's amazing.
What's a SaaS tool you use which not many other people use?
Very interesting question. Not many people. Okay. No, I tried different things again. Well, okay. People now. Everyone uses different voice transcription, call transcription tools, right? We started to use. In 3D Look, we started to use MidGeek. It's really like, I think, a seed stage company or something, but it works well. I love it. So and I'm not using Zoom transcription, etc. So far we're using MidGeek. Yeah.
MidGeek. Okay, cool. All right. Who would you like to see on this podcast?
Yeah, I would like probably to see another, maybe the most successful SaaS founder who is originally from Ukraine, who is Oleg Roginsky from People AI. If you can invite him, it would be great to hear his story. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And final question, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
There were a lot of them, but the first that comes to mind is that really made a profound impression on me, is that to always find, that I should always find time, that my first priority as a leader should be to spend enough time with my people, because I lead through these people, and if I don't have time to talk to my people, and I think something else is important, nothing else is more important than basically spending time with my leadership team. And it sounds obvious, but at some point of time, I was like, as many founders, I'm like, oh, I don't have time for this one-on-one. I don't have time for this. I will just shoot a note to them. They will figure it out. No. This is the most important thing than anything else.
Cool. Very interesting. Awesome. Thanks so much for your time. It's been really, really interesting.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I love the question, and I'm really looking forward to see to see the episode.
Thanks for sticking around. If you want to see the show notes, please go to neoptima.com/SaaS podcast. Otherwise, see you at the next episode. Bye.